terrifying. It's the Ghoul Kids Club. You should be running, yeah, well, Justin's a monster, and Amy eats worms in the Ghoul Kids Club. Ghoul Kids Club.
Welcome everyone to the Ghoul Kids Club.
Ooh.
That's really scary, Amy.
Did you think maybe that was a real ghost?
I still think it might be.
It is.
I'm spooked, guys. It's Ghoul Kids Club, and we're back.
It's actually the Ghoul Kids Club.
Ah, shit.
I know. We're going to have to redo
beans.
the whole opening now.
No. We're actually
not
Ghoul Kids
gonna
Club.
do that, yeah.
No, I'm not.
We are Ghoul Kids Club. It's our favorite time of year, Justin.
It is October. It is the best month of the year.
I'm not taking any notes on that. It is, and I
right.
I won't be taking comments on that at this time. If you think July is the best, then go listen to some other podcast. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know either. July's, okay for what it is. But this is October, and it's a spooky season, and I am at my most powerful, I feel like. I've got a situation going on with my headphones. I'm at my most powerful.
Okay, do you feel like you are filled with the Halloween spirit?
Yeah. I think it's the, the energy of the witches and the ghouls and the goblins and the skeletons and spiders.
Yeah.
It really gives me life, man. I really come to life.
Yeah.
In October.
You are the Pumpkin King.
I am the Pumpkin King.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel at least 50% happier when it's like 65 degrees outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too, for sure.
Yeah.
We got some, it's a little warm right now, but we got some good weather coming our way very soon.
Yeah, I think we've got our last hot week. We kind of had a false fall, and then but the humidity is so low that it almost makes it bearable.
Let's talk more about the weather where we're at. That's what people love. That's what people want to tune in for.
You know what? We still have listeners.
What's the weather like?
So it obviously is what people want to tune into.
Somehow, and contrary to what you may think, listening to this episode so far, it's actually not about weather.
No,
at all.
No.
What are we doing? Of course, we're Ghoul Kids Club. So we're doing the Halloween themed episodes.
Hollow theme? I don't hate that.
Hollow theme.
I don't.
Oh boy,
I don't hate that. Yeah, we are.
What's our hollow theme this year, Amy? So in years past, we've done Universal Monsters episode. We've done
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Goosebumps. We've done Are You Afraid of the Dark? Of course, we've got our Halloween tape series, and we are gonna do that.
Yes, that has been announced
later. Yes. So, but what are we doing today? There was a lot of debate because I feel like the bit, if you're talking about this era of nostalgia that we talk about, and you're talking about horror, kid horror in particular,
yes,
you are talking about two things. You're talking about Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
Those are the big two.
The heavy hitters, as we like to say.
The heavy hitters.
And we've already done episodes on those. So
yeah. So what was it going to be? What's that next big spooky topic? And then it dawned on me that that's not the only two.
No, it's not.
It's really not, because this is a cultural touchstone today on the show.
I think so as well.
Scary stories to tell in the dark.
This was a gateway.
It's got to be on the same level.
This was a gateway for a lot of people.
Oh, it
I
absolutely
think into horror. It was,
and this was actually pre-Goosebumps and pre-Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That's right. This was like for your kids that grew up to really be into Edgar Allan Poe. They started. They cut their teeth on scary stories to tell in the dark.
Like me, I was reading Stephen King by 6th grade.
And it's because of two things: Goosebumps and scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah. I'm super excited to talk about this. Just one of my absolute favorite things in the whole world. When's the last time you read some of these? Because I've read some of them in preparation for the show, but there's a lot of stories.
Yeah, I did read a few in preparation, but other than that, I have not read them in quite some time. Quite some time.
So these are actually there's three books.
Yes.
There's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, more Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and the Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones.
Okay.
Are your bones chilled?
They're pretty chilly. Yeah, they're getting there. I mean, we've not read any yet, so they are cooling off as we speak.
Right, temperature is dropping on them bones. Correct.
Yeah.
We are not going to spend a lot of time like talking about the history and all of this. So here's the basics. These were all written by the same fella, Albert Schwartz, and were illustrated by Stephen Gamble. And honestly, probably more talked about in the sort of the legacy of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark than the stories themselves is the artwork.
Yes. The artwork makes the story. I mean, I think that, you know, there's the stories, some more memorable than others, but the artwork, I think, is that accompanied it is really what makes it so memorable and makes it stick, because, you know, this is just a story. Which, not to say that they're not powerful, but you have, as a kid, you have that visual component with it.
No, absolutely. That's what you're scared of when you have that image on the page that you can then goes into your mind that you can pull up.
Yes.
You know, when you're laying in bed at night.
I was gonna say, because I know, as we've discussed many times, you know, what a scaredy cat I was, and like that's the kind of stuff. And even now, very, very rarely, I'll watch something, and I'm completely fine at the time, but I'll go to lay down, and it'll sort of have put me on edge, and, like, I'll get up to pee at 4 a.m, and I will think about it, and I'll be like, damn it. Like, but that's what used to happen to me all the time.
Oh, fucking Big Toe
God.
Damn it.
Not Big Toe Lady. We will get into...
Big Toe Lady's in the bathroom.
We will get into the most terrifying of all the stories.
Yeah, look, that's what we're here to talk about, right? I want to talk about the stories.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the stories themselves. He draws a lot from folklore, from urban legends. So there's some of these are just like
straight up like
classic retellings. Yeah. Some of them are urban legends. Some of them are taken from different cultures. There's some taken from like Native American folklore or European folklore, American folklore, different regions.
Yes.
And he, you know, he says T.S. Eliot and Shakespeare and Mark Twain. I could see Mark Twain being an influence.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, there's 82 stories combined. They each have between 25 and 30 stories apiece. Okay. So there's a lot of these bad boys.
And some of them are super short though.
Some of them are very short. Some of them are only like a page.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 pages. Yeah. And even the longest ones are just
a couple pages. Yeah.
They're very short.
They're very short stories.
Very short stories. And you know, not all of them are, you know, we're not going to go through 82 stories.
No, we're definitely not.
I'm just not going to do it.
I know you're clamoring for it, but I'm just not going to do it.
I'm denying your request.
It's an after work episode, guys, so time is limited before we start getting really weird.
I am going to get hungrier and hungrier as this episode goes on until I am just a ravenous beast.
Yes.
By the end of it, which sounds like its own scary story to tell.
It does. The man who got too hungry.
The man who got too hungry and acted like an asshole.
And now he has to apologize to everybody. He's really embarrassed.
He has to say he's sorry for snapping at his wife because he was hangry.
The Justin Blank story, so I won't dox you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Appreciate that.
All right, well, let's get into the stories then. What are some of the ones from the first collection, which was 1981? You know, we're talking about this is pre-Goosebumps for sure.
Yeah, so we should say the 3 books. The first one is 81,
yes.
The second one is 84, and then the third one is 91. And I didn't actually know this until I was researching that Alvin Schwartz died in 92. He died like right after the last one came out.
Do you think that, much like the movie's Goosebumps, that one of the creatures from his stories came to life and maybe actually killed him?
I feel like I'm gonna Google it and it's gonna say like he died of cancer or something really sad. But maybe
it was the big toe lady.
Maybe it was Big Toe. Maybe it was the pale lady. Maybe it was Jangly Man. I don't know.
Old Jangles, Mr. Bojangles.
Maybe it was Harold himself.
Oh,
that
Harold.
just said his name. I said his name and Amy's demeanor changed.
Yeah. We have a good friend named Harold, and he is not a scarecrow, but there is a scarecrow, and now, of course, because the third one came out in 91, and this included the story Harold, and this was when we were actually alive, because we were not alive when the other two were written.
We were living on the earth at this point.
We were yes. We were on this mortal coil at this point. Okay, well let's talk about some of them then, Justin. What are some of the ones that stand out to you?
Well, in the first book, I think the first book has a couple like really good like classic urban legend stories. You've got High Beams.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Which is the one, and I actually have here in the notes, Amy, because I know our listeners won't sort of benefit from this, though I'm sure we're going to be posting lots of Scary Stories artwork on our social media in the next several days, I'm sure. I have in the notes here, as we kind of talk about some of these, linked to the artwork, because I feel like that's like, we want to talk about the artwork too. You want to see the artwork.
It's
so High Beams. High Beams is the classic urban legend of a girl is driving home at night and some guy is following right behind her, flashing his lights at her and driving up close to her and all this, and she's freaking out.
Yep.
Freaking the fuck out. And then you get the twist of, she finally gets off the road and calls the cops, and they come to arrest the guy. And it's like, it's not me you want. There's a guy in the back seat. Dun, dun, dun.
Justin, when I tell you that to this day, that terrifies me. Maybe that's why I keep my car so messy, because nobody could possibly be back there. Maybe subconsciously.
It's a defense mechanism.
That's what I've done all these years.
Your piles of clothes and trash in the back of your car to make sure that no one.
If somebody was back there, I would absolutely hear them crunching on all those.
Ain't no way you're going to be able to be quiet.
Cups. I would be able to hear crunching.
You're going to hear that styrofoam.
I'd be like, "Hey, who back there? Hey, who that?
Who that my back seat?
Who that?" Yeah, terrifying.
Yes.
No, thank you.
No,
thank you on that one.
They did that in the Urban Legend movie, right?
That's like the openings. Yes, and I love the first Urban Legend movie. I actually like Urban Legend 2 as well. It's not great, but I love it.
Yeah. Another classic they did in the first one was The Hook. Do you remember
the hook hands? Yep.
The tale of the guy and girl parked on Lover's Lane or wherever, and they hear about the mental patient escaping from the hospital on the radio, and then and then they get out of the car and the hook's on the
door handle.
How does he do it in Ernest Goes to Camp?
Oh shit, I don't remember.
I think the laugh is something like
oh yeah. That's right. Oh,
that's a cautionary tale to keep the kids from snogging and whatnot,
from fornicating,
from fornicating in cars.
Go do it at home in your beds.
That's
like
a cautionary tale.
People.
Yeah.
Go wait until your parents aren't home. Don't do it in a car.
So many of these are just like,
it's not comfortable.
Don't misbehave, kids. Don't stay out late.
Yeah.
Don't hump the boy next door in a car in the woods, because a maniac will kill you.
Yeah. Don't make soup.
Don't make soup with toes you find.
Don't use the oven. Don't use the stove when mom and dad aren't home. That's the
more. Ooh, yeah. Let's try to find the moral in all of it.
Oh yeah.
Always check your back seat. That's just good advice.
That is just good advice.
Or
fill it with trash. And then you don't have to
fill it with trash, and the problem solves itself, except for the mice and ants.
No, I don't have either of those things. There's not food in there. That's gross.
And the hook, the moral is don't hump in cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you will be murdered.
Yes.
Do you remember The Thing? Which is not, of course, the John Carpenter The Thing.
God. I do remember that.
Uh-huh. This one freaked me out, and the artwork for this one freaked me out. It's like the skeleton face, kind of like... Do you remember this one where they, like...
Oh, God, yes.
They get...
Oh, the artwork is so scary.
Just with, like, these sunken eyes, and, like, the mouth is, like, kind of...
It kind of looks like an old potato with, like... An old potato with man. Teeth.
It's like Mr. Potato Head if he lost a bunch of weight because he got sick and was just rotting away.
He looked like it's a potato that got thinnered. Like
if a potato got thinnered.
If a potato...
From the classic Stephen King story and movie Thinner.
Thinner, that's correct.
Thinner.
And he's got about as many hairs on his head as I do.
You have so many hair.
This is an illusion.
Oh,
this is all an I only have...
This is magic.
It's magic. It's hair magic. That is what's that one about?
That's the one with the two... and here's the thing, Amy. In retrospect, it's a Lake Mungo situation. It's just like... It's the same twist.
Oh, God.
As Lake Mungo. Spoiler alerts, if you haven't seen the movie Lake Mungo, we're about to spoil the end of it.
Oh, God, it's one of my favorite movies.
No, it's these two boys, and they're like walking home, and they start to get like followed and fucked with by this like scary skeleton looking guy, and he's like darting in and out of like the bushes and all this stuff, and like coming up behind him and doing all this, and he grabs one of them by the arm, and he's getting a good time with this gnarly face, and so they end up getting home. And a couple days later, like, the kid is, like, sick from where
he touched?
The one that he touched, like, has got, like, an infection on the spot where he touched him.
No.
And so he keeps getting worse and worse. And, like, right before he dies, because the kid dies, the other kid comes to the hospital to see him. And he's basically turned into the creature. Like, the kid saw himself dead from the future.
Oh, Justin.
I know.
Yes, that is terrifying.
It's a good one.
Oh, God. That just gives me chills. And I don't care how many times I see Lake Mungo. It still does the same thing. Spoiler alert on Lake Mungo.
Yes. Do you remember the May I Carry Your Basket one with the woman carrying her head in the basket?
She's got her head. Yes,
I do. The head in the basket, and the head's just like...
There's too many headless stories.
There's a lot of stories about heads.
Yeah. And they're never where they're supposed to be.
Where is a severed head supposed to be? I know where a non-severed head is supposed to be. In a basket under a guillotine, I guess?
I guess so. Yeah, I do remember that one.
There are some lots of YouTube videos of people reading these stories. There's obviously audiobook versions of these, and lots of people just doing their own little spin. And I was listening to one of this May I Carry Your Basket, where the lady's head jumps out of the basket and is going crazy and laughing and biting him. And the guy, there was like, they put sound effects in the back of like, and And you just hear the guy, like, as she's, like, attacking his leg, you hear him go, like, oh, good Lord, it's my other leg. Oh.
That's the kind of quality I'm looking for.
Yeah. That's a quality YouTube channel, and I stand by it. Now, I thought, Amy, as we've already discussed, most of these are incredibly short.
Yes.
As little as 1 page or less. In some instances. And, I thought, if people on YouTube can do it, why can't we do it?
Well,
I thought, let's have a couple choice dramatic readings. And for my first dramatic reading, I have chosen "May I Carry Your Basket" because I want you to, maybe you can help me with sound effects if you feel like it.
Just if I feel okay.
But no pressure.
Okay, great.
All right, so this is "May I Carry Your Basket." Sam Lewis spent the evening playing chess at his friend's house. It was about midnight. Shit. Sam Lewis spent the evening playing chess at his friend's house. It was about midnight when they finished their game and he started home. Outside it was icy cold and as quiet as the grave. As he came around a turn in the road, he was surprised to see a woman walking ahead of him. She was carrying a basket covered with a white cloth. When he caught up to her, he looked to see who it was, but she was so bundled up against the cold, it was hard to see her face. "Good evening," Sam said. "What brings you out so late?" But she didn't answer. Then he said, "May I carry your basket?" She handed it to him. From under the cloth, a small voice said, "That's very nice of you." And that was followed by wild laughter. That's where Oh, that was terrible. What? Sam was so startled that he dropped the basket, and out rolled a woman's head. He looked at the head, and he stared at the woman. "It's her head," he cried, and he started to run, and the woman and her head began to chase him. Soon the head caught up to him. It bounded into the air and sunk its teeth into his left leg. "Oh, God, Lord, there goes my leg." Sam screamed with pain and ran faster. But the woman and her head stayed right behind. Soon the head leaped into the air again and bit into his other leg. "Oh, God, my other leg now. There's both my legs." Then they were gone. And that's it.
And then Sam bled out in the road.
Yep. That's it.
Justin, I think you've got a real career here in audiobook narrator.
You think so?
Yeah. I think so.
As long as I could do all the sound effects, too.
Well, of course. That's what a good narrator does. You gotta be able to do all the sound effects. It's very good. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. What about Mr. Bojangles?
Mr. Bojangles. The Jangly Man's a weird one, because I feel like it gets kind of mixed up, because there's 2 stories.
Stories?
2 stories where body parts come down chimneys.
Oh, okay.
2 stories.
Okay.
That might be the most unique 2 we've ever done.
Yeah.
What Do You Come For, which is the Jangly Man story.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Which is basically, Jangly Man comes down the lady's chimney, piece at a time.
Yes.
Head, arms, legs, torso.
Uh-huh.
And then he assembles
into
the Jangly Man.
I don't love that.
And starts jangling and menacing her.
Is he jangling because he's all bones?
Well, yeah, he's ribs and bones, and which I guess are ribs.
Those are bones.
Yeah. Shut up. And he's jangling and he's menacing, and she says, "What do you come for?" And he says, "I come for you." And
terrifying. These are scary as shit, Justin.
No wonder. Yeah, there was a lot of pushback on these, actually.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
The people who like to ban books in kids' libraries and fundamentalist parents groups really fucking hated these.
Oh God, I bet.
And they're a lot. They are a lot.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. And these are geared toward, I think, middle school kids.
You think? Because we were definitely reading them earlier than that.
Maybe initially I feel like they were geared toward middle school kids, but once they were out there, it was almost like became its own urban legend. Not that they were hard to find, but it was sort of like heard someone talking about it, or saw someone lent you a copy, and you. It
was almost like a tawdry book or something, but it wasn't tawdry. But where it was just like
tawdry is an excellent way of putting it. It wasn't that, but yeah, it had that kind of stigma.
Mm-hmm. Like I imagine when like Flowers in the Attic came out, and everybody was like, "Oh my god!"
Right.
But it was like. It's different. It's like, oh God, did you read these? Because parents, they didn't want their kids to read it because they didn't want their kids to be terrified and trying to sleep in their bed every night. Like
but
I was.
I'm also not really a fan of like censorship or
no,
or anything like that. So there's a line you got to tread there.
Oh, for sure.
So the Jangly Man, is Jangly Man too much?
It might be a little much.
And then there's the Mitai Doti Walker. Which
that
is
doesn't sound like English.
It's its own thing. It's like a song, and it's this head that comes down a chimney again.
Another.
This has a chimney and severed heads.
Jesus.
So how many? Really? We need to keep a severed head count.
Well, we're at 2
because we had Man Carry Your Basket. That's
Jangly
one.
Man, his head came down.
Jangly Man
so really we're at 3.
Is 2. So really, we're at 3 with the Mitai Doti Walker, and that one the dog dies. So I don't appreciate it.
Well, I do not. No, I don't appreciate.
I don't appreciate it.
No.
Now, probably one of the most famous ones from the first book is the Haunted House, and actually, so I know you're the only one that can see this, but I have my copy right here, obviously because I'm reading out of it.
Yeah.
Scary Stories Treasury.
Yep.
That's all 3 books in one, and
the artwork.
The artwork on the cover is the artwork from this story, The Haunted House, which is the
fucking
ghost
terrifying.
lady.
That art is so scary.
It's very scary. Yeah.
Talk about sunken in eye holes.
This art is it's all charcoal. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's just it's all black, and it's done with charcoal, and it's so eye holes,
really,
man.
Yeah,
eye
really
holes.
Just God, it's creepy.
And the hair,
very
and
like
her
thin lines, like very like almost looks like it's pencil.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Oh God, it's real scary.
It is really scary. So this is the one. This is, I feel like, one of the few. So there is a subsection of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark stories. Usually one section of the book, and usually it's toward the end, I want to say, that is the stories are scary, but the kind of the point is they're funny.
Oh,
too.
Okay.
So it's like the ones that are kind of like not that scary, and they're kind of meant to make you laugh.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not really going to talk a lot about those stories because we're focused on the spooky ones. But outside of that, the Haunted House is one of the few I think that has like a happy ending, if you could call it happy.
That's true.
Because this is a preacher seeking out justice for a murdered woman, right?
Yeah. And he does.
And he does.
That's right.
And so the preacher goes to stay in this house that he hears is haunted, encounters this woman, her, right there, with the eye holes.
I would be a running.
And she's like, hey, preach, I was actually murdered, and can you help me find the guy who did it?
Yeah.
You give me a proper burial. My bones are downstairs. So he finds her bones, gives her a proper burial, and she's like, take that old finger bone.
That old fingy?
Here's what you do, preach. You take that old finger bone of mine. I bequeath it unto you.
Yeah.
And you put it in the collection plate at church this Sunday.
Oh, boy.
And that is going to tell you who killed me.
That's quite a goof.
And if you do that, I will also point you to like where my wealth and where my riches are stashed, and the church can have all that.
Well,
so pretty good deal. So that's what he does, and the finger points at the dude who kills her, and he gets hung. He gets hunged by the neck until him dead.
Until him dead.
Yep.
Well, and then is her soul free?
Yeah. I think she's pretty free at that point.
Well, good.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one does have we like justice.
By scary stories to tell in the dark standards, it's a happy ending.
Well, she's not.
The guy who murdered the woman got executed, so that's a happy ending.
That is a happy. Well, we like
justice. It's at least justice. Yeah.
All right, so those are some of the notable ones from the first book, the first collection. But then
some of my faves.
Some of your faves. In 1984, we get more scary stories to tell in the dark. A classic. Classic.
It's crazy how all the big stories that we remember, the big famous ones, are really all spread out. Mm-hmm. Like they're not all from the first one.
No.
And then the rest were a bunch of sequels that aren't as good.
Yeah.
Like they're all as good as
This one, I don't remember as many of these stories. I feel like I read more from the third one and In a Dark, Dark Room, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But this one has the big toe.
Tell us about the big toe.
I'll do you one better. I'll read the big toe.
You're gonna read the big toe?
I sure am.
Oh, this is gonna be a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna take this in.
This is the big toe. A boy was digging at the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something. So he gave it a good hard jerk, and it came off in his hand. God damn
it. Phrasing.
Then he heard something groan and scamper away. Mm-hmm. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "It looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll put it into the soup, and we'll have it for supper." That is not what your parents should say. She should be like, "Where the fuck did you get that toe?" That night, his father carved the toe into 3 pieces, and they each had a piece. Then they did the dishes, and when it got dark, they went to bed. I have so many comments. The boy fell asleep almost at once, but in the middle of the night, a sound awakened him. It was something out in the street. It was a voice, and it was calling to him. "Where is my toe?" it groaned.
Ooh.
When the boy heard that, he got very scared.
I'm getting scared, guys.
Yeah? But he thought, "It doesn't know where I am. It will never find me." Then he heard the voice once more, only now it was closer. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. The boy pulled the blankets over his head and closed his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought. "When I wake up, it will be gone." Fucking amateur hour.
Classic mistake.
But soon he heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. Then the boy heard footsteps move through the kitchen into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. Then slowly they climbed the stairs. Closer and closer they came. Soon they were in the upstairs hall. Now they were outside his door. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. His door opened, shaking with fear. He listened as the footsteps slowly moved through the dark towards his bed. Then they stopped. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. "You've got it!" That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
You got... it ends on a jump scare.
It ends on a jump scare. Yep.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It ends on a jump scare. Yep. You're welcome.
You're welcome, America.
You're welcome, America. My cat's sitting next to me, and she is like, "That was uncalled for." I hated that. I hated that. I was taking a nap.
Now, why they eat that toe?
Justin,
why is that an okay thing to do?
It's really not. I'm going to be honest.
And I feel like if someone did that to my toe,
yeah,
my vengeful spirit would come after them as well.
Yeah. Who eats a toe?
Who eats a toe?
Who eats a toe?
Honestly.
Honestly. And you know what? I can't even blame this kid, because clearly he's being raised by a bunch of damn dirty toe eaters. Who are just instead of when their son brings them a freaking toe that he yanked out of the ground, they're not like, what the fuck? Put that toe back.
We gotta call the police.
Instead, they're like, ooh, how plump and juicy. Let's cut it into thirds.
Lordy, we're having meat for dinner tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I know times must have been tough, but damn.
Jesus, it's not that tough.
We're cutting a toe into thirds?
God, no.
I know it's the big toe, but damn.
I'd have to be like Alfred Packer style, up stranded in the mountains for a long time before I got to eating toes.
Mm-hmm. And excited about it.
I don't think I'd ever be excited about it.
No. I gotta say, the big toe ain't one of my faves.
It's kind of a funny one.
It's kind of a goofy... It's a memorable one.
It definitely is, yeah.
Yeah. I would not want someone creeping into my room asking for their limbs back.
No. But honestly, if you stole it and ate it,
yeah, I know.
You kind of get what's coming to you.
I agree.
Do you remember The Bride? The Bride is one of those ones that is so super short. Yes. But the artwork is
so good.
Is really the thing that sticks with you, because it's like basically the story is essentially this bride on their wedding day, they're playing games.
Yeah.
And she hides in a trunk in the attic, and
she fucked around and she found out.
She fucked around. She got in a trunk, and the lid comes down and knocks her ass out.
Shoo.
And seals her in there, and nobody can find her. And so after a week of looking, they just kind of stop. They just kind of give up.
They're like, she must have ran off, you know?
Yeah, I guess she got, cold feet.
Cold feet, yeah.
Or something.
All her toes fell off or something.
And took off, and then like a couple years later, I'll tell you what. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, I can just read it to you.
Well, I would love that, Justin.
Okay, let's do that. This is The Bride. Now, you have to imagine when you're reading this that you're looking at a nightmare charcoal art.
Just a absolute nightmarish image.
Of a decomposed body who is now a full-on skeleton.
Wearing an old tattered dress.
Old tattered wedding dress with dead flowers in her hand. Mm-hmm. And she's just kind of...
She's got a big gaping mouth, just like...
Big gaping maw. And spider webs on her dress.
Mm-hmm. So just picture it.
The minister's daughter had just gotten married. After the wedding ceremony, there was a great feast with music and dancing, and contests and games, even old children's games. When they got to playing hide and seek, the bride decided to hide in her grandfather's trunk up in the attic. Here's your fuck around. As she was climbing into the trunk, the lid came down and cracked her on the head, and she fell unconscious. Inside, the lid slammed shut and locked, and there's your find out. No one will ever know how long she called for help or how hard she struggled to free herself from that tomb. Everyone in the village searched for her, and they looked almost everywhere, but no one thought of looking in the trunk. After a week, her brand new bridegroom and all of the others gave her up for lost.
1 week.
1 week.
Not even a fortnight.
Not even a fortnight. Years later, a maid went up into the attic looking for something she needed. Maybe it's in the trunk, she thought. She opened it and screamed. There lay the missing bride in her wedding dress. But by then, she was only a skeleton. Ba, ba, ba! Dead bride in the trunk. That one sticks with you.
Yeah, that picture sticks with you.
That gets its hooks in you. Mm-hmm. And it don't let go.
What about that one that sounds, and it's the guys in that old abandoned house, and they hear a murder happening?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of, there's a whole subset in all 3 books of stories where the premise is someone seeking shelter from a storm.
That's always a good setup.
It's a classic setup.
A lot of stuff can happen.
A lot. Yeah. Don't seek shelter in storms. That's the moral of all those stories.
Let it take you.
Ride it out.
Just let it take you up, like the cow in Twister.
Yeah.
Just if you're gonna die, you're gonna die.
If that is what the Lord has in store
That's
for
right.
you, then that is what shall be.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you to try to go against
It's
that?
getting weird. I'm getting hungry.
It's starting to get a little weird. Yeah,
it's starting to get weird. Yeah. No, I love the sounds. That's the one where they hear the murder happening upstairs.
Yes.
And they're just like sitting down there in the dark, listening to all this happen.
God, I can't believe we were reading these. I must not have read a lot of these because I would never have slept.
Angry Christian moms all over the world.
Oh, now Justin, do you remember? Like, we must have gotten these from the library. You think?
Yeah.
Or did we own them?
I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I owned them as a very young kid, but I feel like they were always in the classrooms.
That's true. They were in the classrooms. You know? Yeah.
Like, I don't remember reading them a lot at home, so that makes me think I think the third one we had because it was
again because it came out
because it was new while we were on the Earth.
Yeah, while we were on Earth, yes.
Yeah. So the others I know, though, my main memories of reading them was reading them in school.
Okay, or maybe even checking them out from the class library. You know.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like we did that. I know. Oh, I have some friends who are teachers, and like at the beginning of the school year, you know, sometimes they'll post online like, "Here are the books that we're wanting for our class this year. Like, if anybody would be willing to like, you know," and it's always like cheapy books, you know. But it's like, would anybody be willing to donate these? And you basically, you know, buy them on Amazon for them. And I always try to do that for at least a couple of people because, like, I mean, of course, teachers are just funding those out of their own pockets, but I love the idea also of just like in-class libraries. I just love that so much.
Oh yeah, no, I love that too.
Yeah, it's great. So the third one does come out in 1991 while we were alive, while we were on Earth,
roaming the Earth
in Clearwater, Florida, and this one has some very memorable ones.
Yes,
including
Harold. This one has including Harold. Yeah. Well, I think that this is probably the most famous one.
Yeah, probably. So now, Justin, your wife, who has been on the podcast many times, in fact, our last episode.
What?
April was on I know. Now, she has a particularly personal connection to Harold.
Yes.
Do you think she would... Is she there?
April, are you here?
Yes.
Oh, hey, she's here.
Oh my God, she is here.
Maybe she's just always lurking at all times on every episode and just never talks.
They conjured me with the Ouija board.
That's right.
Oh, hey, there we go.
That's good.
Getting into the spooky spirit.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Now, April, you have a story about Harold and a personal connection.
Oh gosh, yeah, I do. Okay, so I've always been absolutely terrified of Harold. Like he's
spooky.
He's the scariest one. I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of scary
stories.
There's a lot of scary
to tell in the dark.
Tell in the dark.
Yeah.
I think Harold is the most famous one. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is probably, if not the scariest, one of the scariest. Yeah.
So I think out of all the like horror things that they can do in horror movies to like really freak people out, like skinning somebody is probably like
that's
up there
pretty rough.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, getting skinned.
No good. Like taking off some skin, and
like the Predator.
I remember even reading, oh gosh, like Western like stuff in elementary school about how
where they'd scalp people.
Yes. And
April's just like, nope.
Yeah, no.
Do not like it. I would like to keep all of my skin.
Keep my skin on.
So side note, I actually did take an anatomy class where we had
you did skin a person. That's right.
I did skin a person because I had a cadaver that, I mean, I didn't like.
It wasn't malicious. They were already dead.
It was,
okay, sure.
There was a method to it.
For legal reasons, we have to say that.
Right. She's still at large.
I'm still at large.
Oh God, you skinned a cadaver.
Yeah, and I remember
That's my girl.
The week that we did hands.
We did hands.
Skin a hand.
We did, yeah. Well,
April.
because that's such a big part of what I studied, right? Was hands.
Yeah.
So, so what was it?
You really had to get inside there. Oh, the degloving. Yes.
Gerald's game. Yes.
Gerald's game. Yeah, it came out that same week that we were doing hands.
Oh my God.
Was it anatomically pretty correct?
I don't know. I didn't get a good enough look at it in the movie.
April was watching it.
It was hard. It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch.
Hard to watch.
Yeah.
So you don't like the idea of skinning?
In real life or otherwise.
Real life or otherwise. Though you have done it.
Though I have done it. Well,
that's the only way to overcome the fears to do it.
Mostly I've made my anatomy partners do it, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
She was there.
You did enough skinning, I'm sure.
Yeah. You held a scalpel.
You did so much more skinning than I ever want to do.
Than I ever have done.
I remember when anatomy partner was particularly good at cleaning fat off the muscles. Anyway, we've gotten way off topic here.
Well,
not really.
Frankly, not really, because
let's bring it around to skinning.
Okay, so let's get back to skin.
Let's talk about this fucked up scarecrow motherfucker.
So scary.
And this is another one. The story itself is scary enough, and it's violent.
Yeah.
But the artwork.
Just the whole thing, though, about how when, at the very end, when the guy comes back, and it's like his partner or whatever is skinned and hung out to dry. And
basically these farmers build this scarecrow, Harold, to take out all their frustrations on, right? And they just go beat the shit out of him.
Yep.
Which you would think, well, that's a little weird, but it's harmless. You're not hurting anything.
Yeah.
But apparently you are, because when that scarecrow comes to life,
and
he's coming for that dermis. He's coming for that skin.
For that dermis.
And Harold's gonna get it. And he is gonna spread it out in the sun to bake.
God.
He's up on the roof, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he at the end, he's sprawling the skin out?
Something on the roof,
stretching the skin out on the roof.
Oh, God.
I was thinking, wouldn't he trotting back and forth or something? I don't know. I just remember it was very, very creepy.
So it's, so definitely nightmare inducing, no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And same.
And so that one got me the most, I think, out of all of these.
And your sister loved to torment you with Harold.
I mean, she loved to torment me with, anything.
Yeah.
I will reference our fast food episode. I don't know if you all remember me telling you about, it was her and my cousin that told me that there were worms in the Wendy's burgers.
Yes.
And so I didn't eat Wendy's burgers until I was pretty much an adult. But
you thought all these fucking jabronis are out here and they're eating worms.
All these worm-eating idiots.
I know.
They don't even know.
They don't even know. But anyway, so anything really to torture me, and so she knew that this freaked me out so bad, and so I grew up in a really little town, and we ran a restaurant and everything in the town, and so we would get home really late at night, and it'd be really dark outside, and I personally didn't live on a farm. But we lived across the street from a farm, right? And she would shut all the doors if I was the last one getting in and lock them.
God,
after screaming, "There's Harold!" And I would freak the hell out, understandably, and just scream to the top of my lungs. I'm sure my parents
oh God,
loved this,
and all your neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I would, be banging on the door trying to get in. It was it was a whole thing.
Oh, Angie.
Yeah.
Did he ever get you? I guess not, because you got
all
skin.
your skin.
All your skin, as best I can tell.
I got most of it.
Best I can tell. Missing a little here and there.
Missing,
Just terrifying. I don't want anything like that coming to life.
No.
I feel like a scarecrow too. And there's definitely been scarecrow stuff. Harold's probably the most famous like horror scarecrow story.
Yeah.
But you've had some movies. You had like Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, Scarecrows. There are some horror movies, but I feel like
it's an underused.
It's an underutilized monster because I feel like they're sort of inherently scary because they're human-esque, but they're not.
But they're not. Yeah.
And there's also something just kind of inherently menacing about a cornfield.
Very. Yeah. Well, you got your children of the corn.
You got your children. You got your children's of the corn.
Yes.
You got your crop circles.
It's very eerie.
You got your skin and scarecrows. It's quite the atmosphere they got going out there in the cornfields. Well, thank you so much, April, for joining us on short notice.
Yeah.
Yes,
and telling us
you.
about your personal torment.
Yeah.
Her personal nightmare, really.
And I feel like I'm really I'm just gonna use this as an opportunity. If anybody can think of any way for me to really pay my sister back.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, obviously, it is that time of year. There's a lot of scarecrows around right now.
I know, and
everyone's got their fall displays.
We could bring one to life.
I could go to the Walmart and get you a scarecrow. I don't even have to make it myself.
How do we
now, bringing
it
to life, yeah, I don't know. We'd have to find maybe some kind of Frosty the Snowman hat.
Maybe
or
get
hoodoo.
like a Chucky situation, like a Charles Lee Ray, like maybe you could put
soul insertion.
A little soul insertion, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Amy and I had the idea of like mailing her really creepy pictures every day for a while.
Just anonymously, putting those in her mailbox.
Yeah.
Just to fuck with her.
Yeah. I'm thinking more along those lines and maybe not like invoke a demon on her or anything like that.
It'd be kind of fun.
I guess. Whatever.
I mean, you just never know. Never know what could happen.
That's true.
Always spoils all my fun. Won't let me bring a murdered scarecrow to life.
God damn it.
I feel like that always backfires, though. I mean, if you're the one that brings Harold to life, he's going to come at you, and probably not.
That is a good.
He's
point.
Going to be like, "Why did you create me?" Yeah.
Now I must kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bit of an Oedipal.
Why did you give me an existence? Like.
Oh yeah. Why did you bring? Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Like Frankenstein.
Existence is pain. Like.
Yes.
Why did you do this to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, existence is pain. Thank you so much for doing a little cameo and talking about Harold with us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll, I'm sure, be hearing from you soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, April.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So there's another really notable one, aside from Harold, from this third one, and that's the red spot. Do you remember this one?
Yeah. This is damn near as iconic. This is old Spider-Face.
Yeah. Old Spider-Face. Now, they do this one in the movie.
Which we'll talk about here in just a minute.
One. They also do a Harold situation, but they don't skin anybody because they were like...
No, but it is pretty gnarly.
It is pretty gnarly, but they're trying to keep that PG-13 rating, so I don't think you can skin people and keep it a PG-13.
Fascists.
But they did the red spot. This girl wakes up and she's got a big zit, or what she thinks is a big zit, and of course it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Is it a zit? Is it a bug bite? Is it full of fucking spiders?
It's the third one, isn't it?
It's the third one.
It's the spider nightmare. It's the spider nightmare.
The spider nightmare.
The spiders burst out of her face.
Oh God!
From
I don't
the
want them
eggs
bursting out of
that
any
were
part of
laid
God.
in her skin.
Oh my God! No, thank you. No. Thank you. That's a hard no from me.
I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on that as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pass on the skinning, and I'm gonna pass on the spider face.
On spider face, yeah. I had a lot of acne going through puberty as a kid, so this one was really, this.
You were Every morning you woke up with a new one. You're like, is this going to be the one with the spider?
Is this going to be the spider one?
Is this a
spider? No, a new one.
Spider, can I leave?
It's going to be spider one.
Oh, no. Now, I will say, Justin, the story that I associate the most with these books is not in one of these 3 collections.
Yes.
But in my mind, my memory clumped it all together because...
I feel like there's a little Mandela effect going on. Like, wasn't this in that book? But no, it wasn't. But it is the same author. It
is the same author, and it is a very similar thing.
Yes.
It's just not Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. There was another book by Alvin Schwartz called In a Dark, Dark Room.
Yes.
And this is
Which, if you can believe it, is actually geared toward younger kids. That was the intention, was like, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was like aiming for like middle school, like 6th, 7th grade. And then In a Dark, Dark Room was actually kind of the same idea, but it was supposed to be even lighter, like for even littler kids. Just so you know.
Let's talk about the green ribbon.
Yeah, which is not, again, in these books.
It is not in these books, but we are going to talk about it because it's so memorable.
I think it's inextricably associated with these books, though.
Well, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, this may as well be the 4th Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's the same thing. It's the same author. Mm-hmm. Different artwork, I believe, though, for this one.
Yeah, definitely different
artist. So this is about... Is it that...
It's a classic tale of a man and a woman who fall in love.
Okay, yes.
And the woman has a green ribbon that she keeps tied around her neck. I can tell just in saying it that most of our listeners at this point know the story we're talking about.
They're turning the podcast off because they're going to get too scared.
Yeah. They know the green ribbon. The green ribbon.
They know the green ribbon.
Around the woman's neck, and he's always trying to get her to take it off. You know, it's about what you can't see. Like, if you don't show me breasts, I want to see breasts. If you don't show me belly button, I want to see belly button. Mm-hmm. If you don't take the green ribbon off, I want to see that little strip of your neck.
That strip of neck.
Like I'm crippled with the horn for it.
she nicely at first, I feel like she just keeps trying to put him off about it.
Yeah. But he's persistent, this one.
He is very persistent. And finally...
He keeps pushing and pushing.
Keeps pushing. And finally she's like, all right, fine. And she takes the green ribbon off, and her goddamn head falls off.
Yeah, again, with the heads.
I'm telling you, it scarred me for life. Mm-hmm. It scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people could say the same.
Scared me pretty bad, too. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember commiserating with you about how scared we were.
Yes. I have a very specific memory, and I know I've told Justin this many times, so I'm telling the listeners. The house that we grew up in had just a very, like, short little kind of hallway, not even really a hallway area, that all of the bedrooms and the bathroom were off of. And it went straight into the living room, and I can remember there being many occasions. The kind of landing hallway area is where the attic entrance was, so there was a door.
One of those old style ones where you pull down and the ladder comes down.
Yes. That was right there.
I have one in my house.
Yes. And I would have to naturally walk underneath that to get from my room to the living room. Well, after reading that story, I was convinced that the second that I walked under it, that fucking head was going to roll out of the attic.
Now, I do specifically remember your fear of that lady's head's going to fall out of the attic door.
Yes! And so I would literally, during the day, but particularly in the evening, like I have a very clear memory of Mom being like, okay guys, dinner's ready, and I'm in my room, and I just dart out.
Gotta touch that head!
Because I'm like, like I would dart out from my room through there as fast as I could, because I was like, that head ain't gonna hit me. No siree. Not today.
Not today.
Not today. Not gonna happen.
Not today, Satan.
Not gonna get me. That story.
You gotta keep on your. You gotta keep on your toes.
You gotta be on your toes.
You gotta stay woke. Yeah. Yeah, no, the girl with the green ribbon. That's yeah. Ooh.
I wonder if a lot of listeners will be surprised to know that actually is not in one of the Scary Stories books.
I think a lot of people assume it is, and I think for a long time I did as well.
Oh, I definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's close enough.
It's close enough. It's essentially the same thing. Now, we did talk a little bit about the movie, so there's a legacy.
There is a
here.
movie, so there isn't it isn't an ongoing franchise of like there's a lot of spin-off books. There are 3 books, and that's all that's ever been produced. There was a kerfuffle.
Oh,
we should mention in 2011 they reissued these books and replaced the artwork with new artwork by an artist, Brett Helquist, in an effort to tame it down, I think. Which was met with a lot of backlash.
People hated that.
People hated it, and I honestly feel bad for the artist because, like,
I do too.
His art was fine. Like he was doing what he was hired to do. It's not his fault, but it was just like, fuck you, bring back the original art.
Yeah, yeah.
So starting in 2017, sorry, Brett. They are now publishing it with the original art.
Yes.
Back in place.
Yes, and
but
I actually do have all of them, and I have, these are definitely old versions.
Yeah.
You can hear my pages crinkling here.
Oh, love a good crinkly page.
Oh, yeah. A little ASMR for you guys.
So, so there's not it's not Goosebumps. It's not, this doesn't go on for years and years and all kinds of different titles and merchandise. No. There's no merchandise really.
No.
There is but it is such a cultural, I think, touchstone.
Oh yeah,
I
think everybody our age and even a little older, because again, these
this was primarily like if you were around in the 80s and 90s in school at any point, if you were a kid at any point during that time, and even into the 2000s, you know about these. You remember these. Oh, yeah. These were around, and it was just it was just like this thing that so many people could. Yeah. It's a shared memory we all have. Like everyone remembers Harold. Everyone remembers, the spiders coming out of the lady's face.
Even if you weren't allowed to watch Goosebumps or
you could fool them sometimes if it was books.
You could, you could. But I feel like Goosebumps was a little flashier.
It was definitely flashier, yeah.
But I will be honest, Goosebumps is often not as scary as this. Goosebumps is
never as scary as most of these. Yeah.
Like, these are legitimately terrifying. And I feel like a lot of them could sneak and read these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a documentary.
Literature.
Mm-hmm. There's a documentary that came out in 2018 called Scary Stories about the book series.
Yes.
I watched it. It wasn't very good. But, well, it's basically just a bunch of people talking about their favorite stories and which ones they like. So it's essentially what we're doing. It's essentially what we're doing, but we're not doing it. We're not making a documentary. We're making a podcast.
Okay.
So, I was hoping for more of like where the stories came from and a look at the artwork and instead of just like people I don't know who are like, who the fuck's this person?
Right.
Like talking about, I don't care.
Yeah.
But it was fine. It's got interviews with R.L. Stine. It's very disjointed. So as a movie, it's not great. But
just not put together very well.
Yeah, but it does have interviews with R.L. Stine and some of Alvin Schwartz's family, which is cool. And those parts are cool. Kind of them talking about his career and his work as a journalist before that. And so it's got some worthwhile stuff in it. But in 2019, we got a theatrical movie, and if that doesn't tell you right there the cultural touchstone status.
I know, because it's like been 30 years since the last book
one came out, and now we're adapting it. We're not adapting it in 1993.
No.
We're adapting it in 2019 with Guillermo del Toro writing the story and producing.
Do you think that this got made based on the success of the first Goosebumps movie?
I'm sure it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
That the first Goosebumps movie was
a hit.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of, in the past 5-6 years, maybe even longer, kind of a more of a movement in kid horror. I think like there's just
we have a new Goosebumps series.
There's just a lot more stuff popping up.
Yeah,
we've had new Are You Afraid of the Dark? We've had new Goosebumps. We've had new Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah.
And Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I feel like, is that sweet spot in between. So it's like it's like between Goosebumps and It.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Like I feel like the next logical progression is something like It. You know, where it's like, okay, this is actual like adult horror.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. I love this movie. I think it was really good.
I thought the movie was really good. Yeah.
It's set in the 60s, is that right?
It's set in 1968, and it's you would think with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that the most logical thing would be to do an anthology movie with a couple different stories, but they don't do that. And like I said, Guillermo del Toro is actually developed the story, and is heavily involved. With it, and so they created a new story around this Sarah Bellows character and these books she was writing, these stories she was writing. And I won't go too much into the plot. You should watch it if you haven't seen it, because it is really good. I watched it last night. I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah.
And since it's spooky season, it's a good one to throw on. It's set at Halloween.
I was going to say,
the vibes set at Halloween
in this are immaculate. That whole like opening to the Season of the Witch.
With Season of the Witch,
Donovan. Oh, gosh. It's really good. It's just like perfect 1960s Halloween fall vibes.
And it incorporates some of the bigger, more popular stories. So they do the Big Toe, or variations on them. It's not the exact thing, but they incorporate those stories into this like new, bigger story that they've written. So they do the Big Toe. They do, of course, do Harold.
Yep.
They do the Dream, which is one we didn't talk about, which is really more famous for the artwork than the story, which is like the pale lady with the like black eyes.
Yes.
Now that artwork is probably more famous than the actual story, and the story doesn't have much to do at all with what happens in the movie.
No.
But they use that image, that character of the woman. The red spot, spider face. They do that one, of course.
That's an uncomfortable scene.
You get a jangly man.
You do get a jangly man.
You do get a jangly man. You got little kind of Easter eggs here and there of like different ones to incorporate different elements from different stories.
Now, are they gonna do another one of those?
They are actually. So it was pretty well received, I think, by critics and audiences. It was a financial success, so yay, makes me happy that something like that.
We always love when horror does well at the box office.
When horror does well. In 2020, they announced that they were doing a sequel.
Okay.
And as recently as this August, like 2 months ago, the director, Andre Ovredal, I don't know if that's exactly how you say that, provided an update saying it's still in development and that the story's done and the script is being written. And he's back, and Guillermo del Toro's back as a producer. So, so a sequel is happening, and it's still in development. So it might be a couple years at this point, but as of like 2 months ago, it still seems to be happening.
That's awesome.
And I would be down, because I do think the movie was really good, and it's one that I think it's a lot of fun to revisit this time of year, and will kind of stand the test of time. You know, it can be one I see revisiting. Around Halloween, especially for years.
It's a good one. Like I said, the vibes are.
And again, it's very PG-13. It's got some like crazy stuff in it, like
does.
some really pretty scary stuff.
Yes,
that
for
is
PG-13.
That April and I were watching it. Like, this is like for kids, man. Like this, it's wild.
I remember when it came out.
It's very PG-13. Really, it's an R-rated movie that's disguised itself as a PG-13 movie, I feel like.
And I think that I hate when people give PG-13 horror like a bad, like they're just like, oh, like it could have gone so much further had to be PG-13. And I'm like, but there's a place for that too. Like, there are kids who want to watch horror who can't always go see an R-rated movie. Like, it's a little easier now with streaming and shit like that, but well,
and I've always, as such a big horror fan,
stepping stone.
And I'm such a big obviously a fan of all things horror. And if I hadn't had things like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark when I was a kid, maybe I never would have gotten into horror because, I didn't have access to all of that stuff. But there are stepping stones. You know, I went from Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to, reading Stephen King to expanding the kind of movies I was watching.
Right.
And that was really, those were foundational things for me.
The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to Giallo pipeline is the one that you were on.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I just watch, I like watching a lot of Italian horror. Yeah.
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 I feel like nowadays people are just like, just let our 6-year-old watch Walking Dead. And I'm like,
yeah, there's a lot of people that just don't seem to give a shit. And I'm not a parent, so I'm not commenting on it either way.
Yeah.
But,
But I do still think there's a place for PG-13 horror. And I think when adults complain about a horror movie being only PG-13 and therefore it can't be good, I'm like, that's not exactly the case.
And there are lots of instances of like things getting cut down and watered down to make it appeal or try to make more money because you can have younger kids come in. So that is definitely still a thing too. But this isn't, we're making a PG-13 version of it. We're making a PG-13 version of something that was already geared toward kids.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Not everything's made for you, Not everything's always made for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a delight, and now as I walk down my hallway to go to bed, I'm gonna have
I also have to pass under an attic door to get into bed tonight, so I'll be thinking of that as well. Fucking great.
I've always thought, by the way, that would be an excellent Halloween costume. Would be to be the girl with the green ribbon around her neck, and I'm gonna save it. Simple. It's in my back pocket.
That'd be pretty simple.
I'm gonna do that one year. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, when I need an easy costume.
For sure.
Well, Justin, now that we are the Ghoul Kids Club, do you want to do some spooky plugs?
Some petrifying plugs. Oh. Follow us on social media. At Ghoul Kids Club Pod on Instagram, on Twitter /X. Search for us on Facebook, Ghoul Kids Club Podcast.
Yes.
If you liked this show, go on iTunes, go on Spotify, give us a little rating.
We got
some
64
nice things.
other episodes before this you can listen to.
We do, and who knows how many we're going to end up having. It's probably going to be a lot.
Probably going to be a lot.
It's probably a lot.
Until we have a giant blowout and don't speak for a decade or something. It hasn't happened yet. I'm just kidding. Aww. We're going to do it forever.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you guys so much. And thank you, of course, to Brian Hey Guys Wakefield, as always, for if you love the remix, the Halloween remix of our theme song, and all of our theme songs, you can thank Brian Hey Guys Wakefield for that, because he does all of our theme songs.
That's very true.
I will say, though, that the outro song on our last episode, that was all me. That one. Well,
it wasn't all you.
No, it wasn't. It was not all me.
You're pretty proud of that. You're pretty proud of that, aren't you?
It's not that I'm proud of it. It's just that it's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Pretty good. Speaking of, thank you again to my beautiful wife, April, for coming on the show and trauma dumping.
Yes.
And then leaving.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Well, we will be back in a few weeks. We're going to bring more spooks. We're going to bring more scares, more ghouls.
It's on. The horror movies are flowing. It's spooky season. There's pumpkins. The weather's good. Let's do this. We're going to be podcasting. I'm probably going to
put a spooky movie on right after this.
I'm definitely doing that. We hope that you have an excellent October, having an excellent Halloween season. We're going to be back with more spooky nostalgia stuff. And until then, you should probably stay ghouly.
I was going to say stay spooky, but...
Stay ghouly.
Stay ghouly.
That was really scary.
When I look out my window, many sights to see. And when I look in my window, so many different people to be, that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the